Hello and welcome to Who Cares If No One Laughs, the show that needs no explanation. So, hi, Kristen. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. You see, some people started listening to the show, and then they eventually would
Hold
want to
up,
listen
hold up.
more. And then if they want to listen to, but
We do not need to explain. This is what this whole show is about. People that explain things that do not need explaining.
over explaining, yes, I did that just. I am notorious for over explaining. I did that just a couple of days ago. I had a check for my daughter's birthday, and I went to the bank, except the bank that she has her account in is far away, and I don't even know if I have the ATM card. My wife goes there.
Yeah.
So I went to the bank I go to, and I was going to deposit it in my account and then have my wife transfer some money from her account into my daughter's, right?
Yeah.
The same amount. And so the lady at the bank wanted me to start a bank account for my daughter,
Yeah.
and I was like, no, 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 she has one. I'm just not putting this money in it. And then I just go into this long explanation about how I'm not stealing from her. Like this is we have like we feed her and she's fine. I plan to pay for her college. This money is
Yeah.
just my wife's going to transfer. And the lady's looking at me like, hey, I just want the $10 commission for opening a new account. I don't really care what your life story is.
I mean, bank tellers probably get the most amount of details that they do not need. Because I remember when I was a server at Islands, I would go next door and deposit my tips, and I'd have this gigantic stack of ones. And every time I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not a stripper. I'm a server," and like they're probably like, you do not need to tell me that information. We get ones, like a lot, more than you think. But hey, I did. Okay, so that was in my 20s. And then when my husband and I just sold a boat, they came over with like a grocery bag filled with $25,000 in cash, right? So then like when we went to the bank to deposit that, we were like, hey, we're not drug dealers. So like that's a sign that you've made it in life when you have to explain you're not a stripper to like you're not a drug dealer, right?
Yeah, stepping it up. Yeah.
Right. You're like, okay.
When I was younger in high school, like a freshman in high school, um, a senior in high school or a guy that just graduated, his name is Phil Nevin.
Yeah.
He became a professional baseball player. I think he just graduated. He must have graduated a year or two ahead of me. And I ran into him of all places in a uh, baseball card store, and he had his rookie card, and I bought it because we went to the same high school, and I talked to him, and I'm like, oh, he's
Yeah.
nice. So flash forward 25 years later, he's now a retired baseball player coaching the Fullerton Flyers or Orange Flyers, whatever they
Yeah.
are. And so we went to one of his games. So I took the little rookie card, and I thought it'd be fun to show it to him and have him sign it. So while he's talking to fans and I give him the card, I go into this long explanation about how I ran into him 25 years ago and he was in the card store, and I got his card and now he's signing it. And he gave me this look like, I couldn't care less if you were describing your last colonoscopy. Like, just, I don't care. Stop talking. Here's
The
your
damn
signature.
card.
Go away.
Oh gosh. Have you ever had to pick someone up at the airport and you're like, hey, what time do you need me to pick you up? They're like, well, so our flight lands at like 8:45. I'll have to go down, probably downstairs to the carousel. We'll have to go customs, you're like, and then like, oh, I gotta find where you need to pay. Just tell me tell me what time you need me there. I have been to an airport before. I understand that there are steps involved from the time your flight lands. What time do you need me by the curb? We all go through. Why are you giving me the rundown of how an airport works? I understand this stuff.
Can you imagine they're at home? It's not quite time to pick them up. They're like, oh, let's see. He must be walking up to the carousel by now. Ah, exciting.
And then again, it's like, oh, my bags come out onto the carousel. And then it, like it goes around in this big carousel. And you're like, what? I've never heard of this. And your bags go on, like everybody's bags go onto this carousel. How do you know which one's yours? God, it's like, come on. Yeah, like way too much details.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in the middle of over explaining, and I realize I can't stop now.
I know.
You're like, you're like, let me just get to the end. Then I got married. Like you can't. You're keeping this story. You're like, oh
I
crap,
know.
finish it. Then I'm running it through my head. I'm like, what parts can I cut out?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I already told her about the cats. I can't just skip that part. What about the vacation? Oh, I mentioned we left on. I guess I should mention we came back from vacation. Oh, well, they can just assume that, and it just goes down.
I know. You get in that, and then they're looking at you, and you can see the stare, like they're just blanking out, and you're like, oh, how do I make the? Oh, I got to jump to an interesting part, but I can't just make a big jump. I have to connect it. Yeah, it's a struggle. I get it, but then, gosh, those professions that have to deal with those details all the time. It's bank tellers. They've got it. They just have. It's just because it's money. Like, do you ever wonder, like, how did you get all these coins? Like, no, they don't care.
If you ever watch these maybe not political shows, but they're often political, but they're describing the day's news,
Yeah.
CNN shows, and these poor guys have 2 or 3 things to talk about, and they talk about it to the point of nauseum, and
Right.
I feel bad for them at some point.
I
I'm like,
know.
you're over explaining. We know how a court works, and the jury comes out and gives the verdict, and like, this is the 7th time you've explained to me, and you've pointed the door from which I don't care which door they come out of.
They're like, they just have to, and they're like, do I really need to explain this again? They're like, yes, you do. It's just part. What if someone just tuned into the news for the first time ever in their life? They don't understand how this works. We have to explain it. And then at one point, they're just like, God, I hate my job.
And those poor guys, they always start with, if you're just joining us, and then they're just letting the rest of us know, like, I'm so sorry, I have to explain this again, but they told me someone might have just joined, so I'm terribly sorry. Let me explain to you how a court works. Okay, Kristen, it's been 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes you could have spent trying to explain to anyone at Lowe's, which pipe needs replacement in your house, because it certainly takes a lot more than 10 minutes, but it would have given you a head start on explaining which pipe in your house needs replacement.
Well, if you didn't waste the first 5 minutes explaining what a pipe is.
Have you been to Lowe's? You need to tell them what a pipe is before you can tell them which one's broken.
Yeah, no, I get it. All right, we'll see you next week.
See you next week, Kristen.
Bye.